Hi there, welcome back. My name is Casey and I'm going to be doing an iris reading. And we're starting with the left eye for this person and taking a look at the overall constitution. I am seeing pretty straight fibers and fairly closely woven. So there's a little bit of zigzagging in this, in a few areas, but for the most part, they're pretty straight and there aren't a lot of lacuna. So I would say this person has a pretty strong constitution and genetic heritage. All right, so the most striking features to me in this eye when you just, take a quick first glance is the yellow discoloration in the stomach and bowels area. And that is referred to as a central heterochromia, and just meaning discoloration, and central meaning towards the center of the eye. When you see this yellow discoloration, it can be an accumulation of sulfur. It can also be a disturbance in the kidneys and adrenals. And the kidneys and adrenals are coming up in both the right and the left eye. So I would say we're definitely looking at some kidney and adrenal imbalance. Okay? Let's go ahead and take a look at the center of the eye. So we have, let's see, we have the pupillary margin, this area directly surrounding the pupil, and we are seeing some darkening as well as some uneven edges in this area. And this pupillary margin is referred to as the ring of absorption or malabsorption, at least when you see this darkening. It is reflective of how well this person is receiving nourishment, and that can manifest in challenges with nutrient absorption, undernourishment, often even indicating a degenerative stomach lining, and quite often over acidity within the stomach. On an emotional level, it's related to receptivity to love, nourish, alignment, and release. So I'm definitely seeing a bit of a malabsorption ring of nourishment, ring of absorption. And I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. As well as this dark ring, we're seeing a lot of little radii solaris coming from the stomach and bowels area, a lot coming directly from the stomach. So that's indicating to us there is some level of toxic dispersal from the center of the body, the stomach, to other areas of the body. So we're seeing this in the groin. We're seeing, a bit of it all over the eye, but especially I would say it's most concentrated up in the head and brain area. And that's pretty common when you see any kind of degeneration in the stomach or in the bowels area. A lot of times the transverse colon is distributing a lot of toxins into the head and brain areas. So let's, take a look. Let's go back to the digestive system. So yes, a lot of toxic accumulation, likely some hyperacidity, and in terms of the bowel wall, which is right in here, it does look somewhat spastic. So there are some, jutting out, jutting in. We could have some diverticuli. We could have some strictures. So right away, I'm going to recommend this person start focusing on the stomach and bowels as well, because of this yellow discoloration and what I'm seeing in the kidney and adrenal, to start focusing on the kidney filtration and getting the adrenals revitalized. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but we are seeing in both eyes the pituitary gland come up. So as we go through and look at the other glands, you're just going to keep in mind that the pituitary gland, as the master gland, is secreting hormones that regulate and control all of the other glands in the body. So in terms of this person's healing journey, I would say taking a look at the pituitary gland and reducing the inflammation and getting on maybe some pituitary herbals while we're looking at the lymphatic system and the kidney filtration. Okay, so back to this autonomic nerve wreath, and also known as the bowel wall. So there is a little bit of spasticity, and there's a pretty thick lymphatic congestion built up in the bowel wall as well. So that could be indicating just a lot of congestion, a lot of lymph, and even there could be some mucoid plaque. So again, a colon cleanse would be really beneficial for this person. Now, I'm not going to continue this bowel wall because I want to leave this space open so we can take a look at some point at the groin area and how that's being affected by the digestion. And I believe this is going to be the sigmoid colon area. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about is the lymphatic tophi we're seeing in this eye. So let me get a different color actually. We can do blue. So these little lymphatic tophi are congestion, stagnation, swelling, and even enlargement of the lymphatic tissues. So when you can see there's a lot of lymphatic congestion in this eye. There's a lot of lymphatic congestion in the head and the brain area, down into the jaw, and I'm definitely seeing it in the thyroid, as well as in a concentrated sense seeing it in these lymphatic tophi. So she doesn't have a complete rosary, which would be beads all around the eye, but she definitely does have a number of these little lymphatic clouds. So here's one here, here, and in here. I'm going to leave this area open because this is the heart area, and I want to speak to that at some point later in the reading. So, but we can see a lot of lymphatic congestion around the heart area. Okay, so those are the lymphatic tophi. I mean, there's a few more. Just a lot of lymphatic congestion in this eye. And the lymph, as we know, is able to get into spaces that the blood is not. The lymph is cleaning up the cells constantly. And when the lymph picks up these toxins, they are then passed through the elimination channels of the lymph glands as well as the kidneys. So when we have underfunctioning kidneys, we're going to have a backup of the lymphatic function in the lymphatic system. All right. Another thing I want to speak to in terms of the lymph is you can see in the outside of this iris, in this area especially, we have a lot of lymphatic congestion, and it's starting, and a bit over in here too. You can see it's starting to turn into more of, like a light brown to brown discoloration. And when you see the lymph turn from white to yellow to brown to dark brown, you're watching it go through the acute to subacute to chronic, and even into the degenerative state of tissue function. So seeing this darkening in the lymph is showing us that this lymphatic congestion has gone past the stage of, the beginning stage of imbalance. It's going into more of the subacute to the chronic. All right, and let's move forward and look at a couple of these brain centers. So first off, this area in here is the pituitary. The pituitary is actually one of the first things I noticed in this eye, because this radii solaris is basically pointing right at and cutting right through the pituitary gland. All right, so this whole area in here and even into here, where all this sort of streak of lymphatic congestion, really heavy lymphatic congestion in this area, the pituitary is definitely hypoactive. Looks like it can use some revitalization for sure. And absolutely it looks like it's in the state where it would be affecting the other glands in the body. And then the pineal also has a lot of lymphatic congestion. It's not like straight up in this radii solaris, so I would say it's, not in quite the state that the pituitary in, but still seeing the pineal and the pituitary right here, both the psychic centers. Okay. And this area right here that is pretty close to the pituitary that I'm also drawn to is the area of the five senses. So the five senses is sort of, it's what it sounds like. So this area is involving the visual, auditory, olfactory, tactile senses, including the sensory memory and the senses of emotional pain and pleasure. So it has something to do with how we're able to enjoy the fullness of life with all of the senses. And there's variations on that. So we can be over enjoying or we can be under enjoying. And being that there is some inflammation in this area, I would say there's some sensitivity going on related to the five senses. It's in more of an acute stage. Okay. What else? This section in here I thought was something of interest. So this area in here is the mental ability, creative intelligence, mental capacity, and intuition. So it is about how we organize our experience, our perceptions, and our ideas about the world. Okay, so we have mental ability, a lesion. So you can see just this, it's like a lacuna. So you have this white lymphatic marking surrounding this darker area, and it's coming straight up from the pineal. So that's indicating that the body has sort of isolated this area, and there is not sufficient blood flow or lymphatic flow to get in there and feed the cells as well as remove the cellular waste. And the body does that, of course, as a form of self-protection. So what needs to happen is we need to reduce the acids and inflammation, as well as getting the lymphatic system, more vibrant. And of course, that's going to go back to the kidneys. So I just want to outline this as I'm seeing it. All right, and next up, we're seeing this a pretty strong accumulation of lymphatic congestion and inflammation in this area here. And so we have the lower jaw, and then we have this whole throat and thyroid. And let's see. So we have in this area, we have the parathyroid, and then the thyroid in here and up in here. So we have not only inflammation in the thyroid, we also have some darkening in the thyroid. And I'm seeing it as, so this can include the lower jaw, but this whole entire section right there is where I'm seeing the imbalance within the thyroid. Okay, so, and again, when we're looking at the pituitary being the master gland, we're not surprised when we see the thyroid. We're also not surprised when we see a skin ring. So we have a skin ring in this eye as well as thyroid. All right. And this whole entire section in here is the trachea, the scapula down here. We have the vocal cords in this area. So again, just more throat chakra up in here. And so this area in here is leading to the back. So there's a little bit of a radii solaris coming out of the stomach and bowels and leading into the back area. There could be some inflammation in the back. Could even be some back pain. This also could be something genetic that is not, manifesting at this point, but there is something leading to the back area. And, okay, so this area in here is the kidney and adrenal and the sigmoid colon in here. So kidney and adrenal in both eyes, like I said, are showing up. And this straight up and down, or straight down, the 6 o'clock line is going to be the thigh, knee, foot. So you're always going to look medially, so towards the inside of the eye from the 6 o'clock to find the kidney and adrenal. And so I'm seeing it as this whole section in here. There could be something going on in the thigh, knee, foot, but I'm feeling like it's more related to the kidney. And the kidney could absolutely be affecting the thigh, knee, and foot. So generally speaking, when you see the defining line in the eye for where the stomach and bowels stop and the rest of the organs and anatomy begins is the autonomic nerve wreath. So you're going to see that the the adrenal is right in here in this area, and there's a lot of congestion in that area. So we have adrenal up at the top and then kidney right down in this area here. Looks like a genetic inherited weakness, and with all of these genetically inherited passes, we have the right or the responsibility to increase that dysfunction or decrease it through our lifestyle, our dietary choices, and so forth. Okay, And this line right here is the groin, or I'm sorry, it's the hip. And it's coming from the sigmoid colon as well. So the sigmoid colon being the, let's see what color, I guess I'll use brown. The sigmoid colon being the last part of the large intestine as it is transitioning into the rectum. So sigmoid, indicating some more potential issues with digestion. You can see that the toxins are reflecting directly, and then they are manifesting and accumulating in the hip area. So there could definitely be something going on with this person's left hip. Okay. All right, I'm going to go to the chest area now. And the whole entire chest area, I see a sort of delineation in this region right here. You can kind of see that whole area is the chest. And so we have the lungs, we have a good amount of lymphatic tophi in this chest area. We have the heart area. So for the most part, the heart, the lungs, and as well the thoracic cavity and the breast. So this congestion right in here is the left breast. Like this line right here is the left breast. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of do that for the breast. And that this is a young woman, so she's in her early 20s. I'm guessing that there's absolutely nothing going on in the left breast, but that there could be some potential of inherited weakness. So we're just going to be taking care of that area, and we're doing that through the overall alkalization and the alkalization, as well as working on kidney filtration, as well as doing some herbal therapy, possibly potentially for the pituitary gland. Okay, now let's take a look at the heart. So when you see any kind of congestion or any kind of openings, lesions, any lacuna in the heart area, which is right in here, and we have this lymphatic tophi right here. So this person did mention to me that she does have a history of heart weakness in her family, and I asked her that because I'm seeing this little lacuna right here and this major congestion right here in the heart area. So again, this is a potential inherited weakness. It's showing up, in her constitution. It's showing up, in her genetic heritage, but it doesn't mean it needs to turn into anything. But there is definitely something going on in this heart area. All right. So that's the heart. And let's see if we see anything else. Just a lot in the heart and lungs, a little bit up here in the neck. A little bit in here in the mastoid. So what else? All right, so the last brain center I want to look at is the what we call the inherent mental, or also known as the anxiety zone. Okay, so that is this section right here. And this zone is straight across diagonal from, from the kidney and adrenal. So a lot of times when you see congestion or inflammation or even radii solaris in this area, which there does look like there's a radii solaris going straight to it, and it could either be not extending fully through it, or it could be covered in lymphatic congestion. Nonetheless, when you see this zone, you're going to look down at the diagonal, the radial line from the inherent mental, and check on the kidney and adrenal. And so we already touched on that, and there is evident in this eye. We have something absolutely going on in inherent mental and anxiety. Okay, so there absolutely could be some anxiety this person is experiencing, and I believe that this was the case when I spoke with her initial intake. And she's going to clean that up, just like she's going to clean the rest of the lymphatic congestion, the kidney and the adrenal, the pituitary, the pineal, and so not just the thyroid, but the parathyroid also. Okay, I think that's it for now, and I'm going to move on to the left eye. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.